Everyone, my name is Siddhant Shah, roll number 191222, and today I am going to present on the topic how coronavirus 19 is going to affect the economy. An overview of the virus. The human toll of a global disease outbreak like the coronavirus is obvious, but pandemics have other serious impacts, including those on businesses and economics. Concerns about the spread of COVID-19, declared a pandemic by the WHO on March 11, has prompted governments to take drastic actions to help protect their economies. In the USA, lawmakers approved a $2 trillion stimulus package to take the pressure off businesses forced to close in order to contain the virus spread, while the Federal Reserve has promised further measures to keep financial markets operating. Meanwhile, the UK government has pledged to do whatever it takes to cope with the resulting economic catastrophe, offering up to £330 billion in loan guarantees and further £20 billion in financial handouts. To avoid mass flourish and layoffs, the UK government has also said it would grant cover up to 80% of wages salary. There are two parts to the coronavirus problem. One is that the virus itself and how do you contain it, and the other is the containment measures which will pose a substantial economic cost and that affects growth, corporate cash flows, and profits. The COVID 19 crisis has also prompted a look at previous outbreaks with the goal of better understanding the current experience and how it might play out. In depth, the course of the Corona-19 outbreak in the US and the response to it could lead to a considerable mark on the global economy. The US 2018 nominal GDP of $21 trillion represented 23% of the global economy. As we grapple with coronavirus 19, examining the impacts of other major disease outbreaks can be instructive. Among the immediate economic consequences of the current pandemic are a decline in equity market value and a drastic increase in volatility, both of which might continue. At the same time, bond yields have collapsed as the Fed rate cut interest essentially to zero, with the Bank of England trimming the UK's interest rate to as low as 0.1%. Meanwhile, global oil prices have slumped to as much as 50% thanks to a supply war between Russia and Saudi Arabia, as well as a sharp, dramatic drop off in demand. Initially, people thought this is a sector thing, travel and tourism. But as government encourage or mandate distancing, people are avoiding enclosed spaces or large crowds. Businesses are closing and the economic effect are becoming more widespread. The virus scare will have an impact across sectors. Yes, travel and tourism will be among the worst affected, but the impact is universal and that suggests significant economic consequences. Impacts on shipping and supply chains. Shipping accounts for around 90% of the global trade. Global Marine Sales Director at Aeon was found saying this. Meanwhile, many businesses around the world have moved to just in time supply chains. Many companies, however, haven't taken prudent steps to trace their supply chains to the very beginning. Often, companies have outsourced the production of parts and components to suppliers elsewhere in the world, unaware that those suppliers outsource too. Now, with many ports imposing 14 days quarantine for vessels originating in or transitioning through China, and with seven of the world's busiest container ships ports in China, those supply chains are being disrupted. Production is being disrupted because parts shipping from China to be assembled in the West are not arriving. Travel and hospitality industry takes a hit. Airlines and cruise lines are already feeling the effects of the latest pandemic, which will likely worsen. In the US, airlines have sought more than $50 billion in government assistance to mitigate the impact of coronavirus. Other potential impacts. There could be further impacts from the coronavirus 19 outbreaks, including positive outcomes. One of the potential beneficiaries of the shipping slowdown are the cargo airlines. When people suddenly have goods that need to be sent very quickly, they will accept the increased cost of air freight. The environment has been another beneficiary. Imposing strict shutdowns has reduced travel and manufacturing and in turn polluting emissions. One study suggests that a reduction in pollution from factories and vehicles in China might have saved 77,000 lives. Meanwhile, emissions reductions in Italy could be seen from space. For some investors, the market downturn and volatility might provide opportunities. For investors underweight in equities, this market volatility has made it an attractive time to rebalance their portfolios. When the recovery comes, travel and hospitality, among the industries hardest hit at the time of publishing, are likely to bounce back the quickest once the pandemic ends, when postponed trips, meetings, and conferences are rescheduled. So, this is the overall impact that we can see on various sectors and various industries due to the coronavirus.